From the University of Florida College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News at 6.
10 acres of land are being offered to the city of Gainesville to give the homeless community a place to settle down. Good evening. It's Thursday, December 18th. I'm Zach Dahlheimer.
And I'm Leanna Scacchetti. Thanks for joining us. Land behind Grace Marketplace is currently owned by the State Forestry Department, but it wants to donate the land to the city of Gainesville.
WUFT's Leah Harding joins us now live in the studio. Now, Leah, how does changing who owns the land will change the way the homeless live on it?
Zach, the land is now designated to help keep the homeless off of the streets in Gainesville. So changing who owns it also changes who decides what it can be used for. If the city accepts the offer, it would be a legal safe haven for the homeless community. Even still, it's home for some now, and it's their choice to camp there and not in the shelter right next door.
Russ Dye sleeps in a tent because of a friend.
She's been my friend for 10 years now, so I ain't leaving her nowhere.
A friend named Ginger. There are no animals, fires, alcohol, or drugs allowed inside the shelter. People like Dye, who call part of the 10 acres home, choose the pets and the fires over nights indoors. They can still use the services offered at the shelter. They just can't sleep inside.
The more restrictions we place on people who are living in this community, the less likely they are to actually use it as a service and as a place to be, and that means the more likely they are to be elsewhere in the community.
The choice to live in a tent is theirs.
Yes, this is our home.
But it's a home that doesn't belong to them.
This land belongs to the State Forestry Department. Technically, everyone staying here now is trespassing, but the state wants to give this land to the city of Gainesville. But in order for that to happen, the city has to agree to accept the land. That part hasn't happened yet.
The 10 acres is already a hub for the homeless community, keeping them off of the streets and close to the Grace shelter. And it would mean the squatters would be there legally.
We have verbal understandings with the state, but there's nothing that allows us to say, yes, you are allowed to stay here. That's been the intent from the beginning, but it has not been anything that we've established formally. So this is the first step towards having a place where people know they will be able to return.
John Bauer has been returning to his tent for 2 weeks. He is thankful he has a place to call home and for the neighboring shelter next door.
We are very grateful for the services they do provide. So, and they provide a lot, actually, a lot that we do need.
For the 10 acres, nothing can be decided until the city and the forestry department sit down and discuss the ownership and responsibilities of the land. Signing off for the last time on WUFT News, I'm Leah Harding.
All right, Leah, thank you, and we appreciate your hard work for us here at WUFT News. Graduation rates increased in 6 of the 7 Alachua County high schools this year, according to the Florida Department of Education. Hawthorne High School posted the greatest increase, going from a 50% graduation rate last year to 68% this year. Despite this increase, Hawthorne was unable to shed its F rating from the state. Gainesville High, Newberry, Eastside, and Buchholz all earned A ratings from the state. Alachua County school officials say the increased graduation rate is a result of the schools paying special attention to students who were at risk of not finishing on time.
Even though we had some clouds in the sky this afternoon, it wasn't a bad day for weather here in North Florida, but a bit chilly still.
Yes, it definitely was a chilly afternoon, and let's turn it over to Sean in the Weather Center, who's keeping close eyes on temperatures. Sean, how cool will it get tonight?
Zach, Leanna, temperatures tonight will continue to fall, but I don't think it's going to be as cool as we were last night. Check it out right now live on our UF Live cam. We just switched over to our night mode, so unfortunately it's not as pretty as it actually does look. But a few more clouds in the sky tonight actually going to help to keep our temperatures just slightly warmer. Temperature right now at the airport, 54 in Gainesville, 57 in Ocala, and 55 at Cedar Key. And hour by hour for this evening, temperatures falling through the 40s, and I think we'll bottom out right around 41 degrees at 4 o'clock in the morning, with increasing clouds for the beginning of the afternoon. Coming up on my main weather forecast, I'm tracking multiple weather systems arriving later this weekend. I'll let you know what you can expect from those coming up in my main weather forecast. Zach, Leanna, back to you.
All right, Sean, thank you. Well, some orders from Amazon may not be delivered on time this year. A truck carrying hundreds of packages from the online retailer overturned in Hillsborough County this morning. The top of the truck was ripped open. The crash closed the road for several hours, and Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputies are still investigating the cause of the crash. The boxes appeared to have addresses of Amazon Prime customers living in the area. The driver of the truck was taken to the hospital, but is expected to be fine.
3 people in Volusia County are accused of drugging a 15-year-old girl and forcing her to have sex for money. Deputies arrested the 3 after hearing about a 60-year-old man who was expressing interest in young girls. Robert Richards and Michael and Cynthia Graves were all arrested for child abuse. According to deputies, the Graves couple would give prescription drugs to the young girl and drive her to meet Richards. Deputies say Richards would pay the girl for sex and she would hand over the money to the Graves. All 3 are being held at the Volusia County Jail.
Well, the shooting at Florida State University less than a month ago took a toll on 3 individuals who were shot by gunman Myron May. And that shooting has forever changed the life of one student who became one of May's victims.
Just this past weekend, WUFT's Molly Robinson took a trip to Atlanta to visit Ronnie Ahmed, the shooting victim who was left paralyzed but not unconquered after being shot by May. Molly joins us now in the studio. And, you know, Molly, you and I were talking earlier, and it seems safe to say that Ronnie is really doing really well on this road to recovery.
Absolutely, Leanna. The Florida State motto is Vires Artes Mores, which stands for strength, skill, and character, and I think it's safe to say that Ronnie showed all 3 traits during recovery. Before the shooting, Ronnie was known around FSU's campus as the barefoot longboarder, but now people recognize him as a hero.
Ronnie Ahmed was taking a study break when a gunman opened fire at Strozier Library on Florida State University's campus. Ronnie was one of 3 students who was shot, but the only one who faced life-threatening injuries. The shooting is still fresh in the mind of many students, taking away their sense of security. But Ronnie lost more than that.
I remember when I first woke up in the hospital, I turned to my sister and I was like, "I'm paralyzed, aren't I?" And she was like, "Yeah."
After the shooting, Ronnie received an outpouring of support, with many calling him a hero.
I don't really feel like a hero, to be honest. I guess I could understand why some people find me inspiring and look up to me for the way that I've handled it. But a hero, I don't know. All I did was call the cops.
He received cards, flowers, and other presents, but he says the best present was an online fundraiser his friends started that has raised almost $200,000.
I think that all of this outpouring that he's received, he would do 10-fold for anybody that he cares about.
The money is being used to pay for his recovery in a top-ranked rehabilitation hospital.
Until February, Ronnie will be staying here at the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia to receive physical training and education on a new set of wheels.
And now help is only a button away.
Rachel, how can I help you?
Hey, could you call Rebecca? I need some pain medication.
After this speed bump, as Ronnie calls it, not much is going to change.
No, I'm pretty much the same person that I was before.
I can attest to that. It's always been positive.
Just kind of, not going to be running around as much or walking around barefoot, That's about the only difference.
Ronnie says he accepted his fate as soon as the first bullet hit his spine. But he says he won't let the circumstances out of his control change him as a person.
Now, Molly, I remember being back up at FSU and knowing Ronnie and knowing that he just had this positive attitude, this upbeat personality. And it seems after that report that this event hasn't swayed his personality one bit, correct?
Correct. He is still positive, upbeat, completely optimistic, even though 2 bullets actually hit him that night. Instead of 3, which we originally thought, one just had 2 entrance wounds. But he is completely fine. He is just always optimistic, always looking forward.
And no one can prepare for an event like this. So how is he setting up his living arrangements when he decides to return to Tallahassee after his rehabilitation in Atlanta?
In the interview, he told me that the one thing that really upset him throughout this process was the fact that he might not be able to go home and go back and live in his house with his friends. But they decided to make it work because they saw how upset he was about it. And a contractor in Tallahassee has decided to renovate his home for free to make it wheelchair accessible. And so now he gets to go back to Tallahassee at the end of February, live with his friends and his cute pet hedgehog, Nutmeg.
Well, I'm sure he's got a lot of big plans when he gets back to Tallahassee, including getting that degree from Florida State, right?
Absolutely. He is on track for graduation. He is ready to get back there and get done with school. And he also has plans for riding a motorcycle trip around the United States, because the Shepherd Center, which is where he's at right now in Atlanta, is able to teach him so many things that you wouldn't really think a paraplegic could do, like scuba diving, riding motorcycles. And he's just very excited to keep moving forward, and he's not going to let this situation stop him.
Well, very informative piece, Molly. Thank you. We wish Ronnie the best in his road to recovery. Well, there's more to come on WUFT News at 6. Coming up, we'll have a University of Florida expert here to talk about improving relations with Cuba. We'll learn more about how this can help the U.S. economy. Plus, the Boston Marathon bomber made his first appearance in court today. WUFT News is back in 90 seconds.